Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our English Learning Podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm David. Today we're going to have a conversation about teaching and education.
That's right. This episode is perfect for learners at the B1 or B2 level. We'll speak clearly and use everyday vocabulary.
We'll be talking about school life, teaching methods, and working with students. Are you ready?
Let's begin.
Good morning, Sarah. How was your weekend?
Good morning, David. It was wonderful. Thank you. I spent most of it preparing lessons for this week. How about you?
Mine was quite relaxing. I went hiking with some friends on Saturday. It helped me clear my mind before the busy week ahead.
That sounds lovely. I should do something like that. Teaching can be stressful sometimes, and we need to recharge our batteries.
Absolutely. Speaking of teaching, I wanted to ask you something. You've been teaching for many years, right?
Yes, I have. I've been an educator for about 15 years now. Time really flies.
That's impressive. I'm still quite new to teaching. This is only my third year.
3 years is a good foundation. You're past the most difficult stage. The first 2 years are always the hardest.
I definitely felt that. Last year was particularly challenging. I had a class with some very difficult students.
I understand completely. Every teacher faces that situation at some point. What kind of difficulties did you experience?
Well, some students simply weren't interested in learning. They would talk during lessons, play with their phones, and disturb other students.
Classroom management is one of the toughest skills to develop. It takes time and practice.
How do you handle disruptive students? I tried several approaches, but nothing seemed to work consistently.
That's a great question. First, I always try to understand why a student is being disruptive. Sometimes there are problems at home or personal issues.
I hadn't thought about that deeply enough. I was so focused on maintaining order that I forgot to see the bigger picture.
It's easy to do that when you're managing 30 students at once. But building relationships with students is crucial.
What do you mean by building relationships?
I mean, getting to know your students as individuals. Learn about their interests, their strengths, and their challenges.
That makes sense. When students feel respected and understood, they're more likely to cooperate.
Exactly. I make it a point to have brief conversations with each student regularly. Just a minute or two can make a big difference.
Do you do this during class time or outside of class?
Both, actually. Sometimes I arrive early or stay late to chat with students. I also use the first few minutes of class for informal conversation.
I like that idea. I usually jump straight into the lesson content.
There's nothing wrong with that, but creating a positive atmosphere first can improve the entire lesson.
I'll definitely try that approach. What else helps with classroom management?
Clear rules and consistent enforcement. Students need to know what's expected of them.
I have rules posted in my classroom, but students often ignore them.
Are the consequences for breaking rules also clear and consistent?
Probably not as consistent as they should be. Sometimes I'm more lenient depending on my mood or how tired I am.
That's very honest of you, but students notice inconsistency immediately. They'll test the boundaries constantly if they think rules are flexible.
You're absolutely right. I need to be more disciplined about enforcing the rules fairly.
It's not easy, especially when you're exhausted at the end of a long day. But consistency builds trust and respect.
I appreciate your advice, Sarah. Can we talk about lesson planning? I struggle with creating engaging lessons.
Of course. Lesson planning is an art and a science. What specific challenges do you face?
My lessons often feel boring, even to me. Students look uninterested, and I can blame them.
What teaching methods do you typically use?
Mostly lectures and textbook exercises. I explain concepts, Then students practice with worksheets.
That's a traditional approach. It works for some content, but it can become monotonous if used exclusively.
What alternatives would you suggest?
Variety is key. Mix different activities throughout the lesson. Use group work, discussions, games, videos, and hands-on activities.
I worry that games and fun activities waste time. Shouldn't we focus on covering the curriculum?
That's a common concern, but engaged students actually learn more efficiently. 10 minutes of active learning beats 30 minutes of passive listening.
I never thought about it that way. Could you give me some examples of engaging activities?
Sure. For language learning, role plays are excellent. Students practice real-life conversations in pairs or small groups.
How do you organize role plays effectively? I tried once and it became chaotic.
Preparation is essential. First, model the activity clearly with a strong student. Show exactly what you expect.
That makes sense. I probably didn't provide enough guidance.
Also, give students time to prepare before they perform. Let them write notes or practice quietly first.
What about shy students who refuse to participate?
Start small with those students. Maybe they work with just one partner they're comfortable with, or they can present to you privately first.
That's a good compromise. I don't want to force anyone, but participation is important.
Exactly. Push students gently outside their comfort zones, but respect their limits. Building confidence takes time.
What other activities work well for you?
I love using authentic materials like newspaper articles, podcasts, or video clips. They show students how English is used in real life.
Where do you find appropriate materials? The internet is overwhelming.
I have several favorite websites and podcasts. I can share a list with you later if you'd like.
That would be fantastic. I spend hours searching for resources.
Resource collection is part of being a teacher. Over time, you'll build a personal library of materials you can reuse and adapt.
I'm starting to do that now. I keep files organized by topic and level.
Excellent. Organization saves tremendous time. I also keep notes about what worked well and what didn't.
That's smart. I should document my lessons better. Often, I forget what I did the previous year.
A teaching journal is incredibly valuable. Even brief notes help you improve continuously.
Sarah, can I ask about assessment? I find grading to be really overwhelming.
Oh, yes, grading can consume so much time. What aspects do you find most challenging?
Everything takes forever. I bring home stacks of papers every evening and weekend.
I've been there. Let me share some strategies that have helped me manage the workload.
Please do. I'm desperate for advice.
First, not everything needs detailed grading. Some assignments can be completion grades or self-assessed by students.
Really? I thought I had to grade everything thoroughly.
Think about the purpose of each assignment. Is it for practice, or are you assessing mastery of a skill?
I suppose practice assignments don't need extensive feedback.
Exactly. For practice work, quick checks or peer review work well. Save detailed grading for important assessments.
That would save me hours every week. What about tests and major assignments?
For those, I use rubrics. They make grading faster and more consistent.
I've heard of rubrics, but I've never created one. How do they work?
A rubric lists criteria and performance levels. Instead of starting from scratch each time, you just mark where the student's work falls on the rubric.
Can you show me an example?
Sure. Let's say you're grading a writing assignment. Your criteria might include organization, grammar, vocabulary, and content.
Okay, I follow so far.
For each criterion, you describe different levels of performance. Maybe 4 levels: excellent, good, satisfactory, and needs improvement.
And then you just check which level each student achieved.
Precisely. You can add brief comments for clarification, but the rubric does most of the work.
That sounds much more efficient than writing lengthy comments on every paper.
It is. Plus, students appreciate the clear expectations. When they receive the rubric beforehand, they know exactly what you're looking for.
I like that transparency. Students can't complain about unfair grading if the criteria are clear from the start.
Exactly. Rubrics also help you grade more objectively. We all have biases, but rubrics minimize their impact.
How long does it take to create a good rubric?
The first one takes time, maybe an hour or two. But once you've made it, you can reuse and adapt it for years.
That's a worthwhile investment then. What about giving feedback to students?
Feedback is crucial for learning, but it needs to be strategic. Focus on the most important issues, not every single mistake.
I tend to mark every error I see. Is that wrong?
It's not wrong, but it can overwhelm students. When a paper is covered in red marks, students feel discouraged and don't know where to start improving.
I've noticed that. Some students look defeated when they get their work back.
Instead, identify 2 or 3 priority areas for each student. Focus your feedback there.
So different students might get feedback on different things?
Absolutely. Differentiated feedback matches each student's developmental stage. One student might need to work on verb tenses while another focuses on organization.
That makes sense, but doesn't it take longer to personalize feedback for everyone?
Actually, it's faster because you're writing less, and it's much more effective because students can actually act on specific, manageable feedback.
I'll try that approach with the next assignment. Any other feedback tips?
Yes, include positive comments along with corrections. Students need to know what they're doing well, not just what's wrong.
I sometimes forget to mention the good parts. I focus so much on errors.
We all do that naturally, but positive reinforcement is powerful. When students feel successful, they're motivated to keep improving.
How do you balance praise with honest assessment? I don't want to inflate grades or give false encouragement.
Great question. Be specific with praise. Instead of just saying, "good job," explain what specifically was done well.
Like, your introduction effectively captured the reader's attention instead of just good intro?
Perfect example. Specific praise teaches students what successful work looks like.
And specific criticism helps them understand what needs improvement.
Exactly. Whether feedback is positive or corrective, specificity makes it useful.
Sarah, I need advice about something that happened last week. A parent was very angry with me. Oh no, what happened? I gave her son a failing grade on a project, and she accused me of being unfair and targeting her child. That sounds stressful. How did you respond? Honestly, I got defensive. I tried to explain my grading, but she just got angrier. Parent communication is tricky. It's one of the skills they don't really teach in teacher training programs. Exactly. I felt totally unprepared for the confrontation. First of all, don't be too hard on yourself. These situations are difficult for everyone, even experienced teachers. But I must have handled it wrong because she's now complaining to the principal. Let me ask you this. Did you have clear documentation of the student's work and your grading criteria? Yes, fortunately. I have the project, the rubric, and examples of what successful projects looked like. Excellent. That's your best defense. Documentation protects you in disputes. The principal wants to meet with all 3 of us tomorrow. I'm really nervous. That's understandable, but you're well prepared. Just present the facts calmly and professionally. What if the parent starts yelling again? Stay calm no matter what. Don't take attacks personally, even though it's hard. The parent is frustrated about their child, not really about you. I'll try to remember that. Any other suggestions for the meeting? Listen first. Let the parent express their concerns completely before you respond.
Sometimes people just need to be heard.
That's good advice. I jumped in too quickly last time to defend myself.
Also, focus on the student's learning and growth, not on defending your grade. Frame everything around helping the student succeed.
So instead of, your son earned an F, say something like, let's discuss how we can help him improve his skills?
Precisely. You're thinking collaboratively rather than adversarially. That changes the whole tone of the conversation.
I hope it works. I really don't want ongoing conflict with this parent.
Most parents just want what's best for their child. If you show you share that goal, you can usually find common ground.
What if the principal sides with the parent and asks me to change the grade?
If your grading was fair and well documented, the principal should support you. But ultimately, you'll need to follow administrative decisions.
Even if I disagree?
Yes, but you can explain your perspective professionally. Sometimes compromise is necessary in education.
This job is more complicated than I expected. It's not just about teaching content.
That's very true. Teaching involves psychology, communication, administration, conflict resolution, and so much more.
Do you ever deal with difficult parents?
Oh, yes, regularly. After 15 years, I've learned to prevent many conflicts through proactive communication.
What do you mean by proactive communication?
I contact parents early and often, especially if a student is struggling. I don't wait until report cards come out.
I usually only contact parents when there's a serious problem.
Try reaching out with positive news, too. When a student does something good, send a quick email or make a brief phone call to the parents.
I bet parents appreciate hearing good news.
They do, and it builds positive relationships. Then, if you need to discuss a problem later, there's already trust and goodwill.
That's brilliant. I'm going to start doing that immediately.
Also, when you do need to discuss problems, I use this technique. Start with something positive, then address the concern, and end with an action plan.
Like a compliment sandwich?
Sort of, but it's more than just softening criticism. It's creating a complete picture of the student and showing your commitment to their success.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Maria is a creative thinker who contributes interesting ideas in class discussions. However, she's not completing homework assignments regularly. Let's work together on a plan to help her develop better organizational habits.
That sounds so much better than Maria isn't doing her homework.
It is, and it invites collaboration rather than putting the parent on the defensive.
Sarah, how do you keep improving as a teacher after so many years? Don't you know everything already?
I definitely don't know everything. Education constantly changes. New research, new technologies, new methods appear all the time.
How do you stay current?
I attend workshops and conferences whenever possible. I also read professional journals and education blogs.
Conferences sound expensive. Does the school pay for them?
Sometimes the school provides funding, but I also invest my own money in professional development. It's an investment in my career.
What kinds of things have you learned recently?
Last month, I attended a workshop on using technology in the classroom. I learned about several apps that make lessons more interactive.
I struggle with technology. Students often know more about it than I do.
That's actually an opportunity. You can learn from students and create a more collaborative classroom environment.
I never thought about it that way. I felt embarrassed about my limited tech skills.
Don't be. Showing vulnerability and willingness to learn models important qualities for students.
What technology do you find most useful in teaching?
It depends on your goals, but I love interactive presentation tools, online collaboration platforms, and educational games.
Can you recommend specific tools?
There are so many. For presentations, tools that allow student participation in real time are great. For collaboration, shared document platforms work well.
I'd love to learn more about this. Maybe we could do some co-planning and try new technologies together.
That's an excellent idea. Collaborating with colleagues is one of the best forms of professional development.
Really? I thought professional development meant formal training.
Formal training is valuable, but learning from peers is equally important. We can observe each other's classes, share resources, and give feedback.
I'd be nervous having someone observe my teaching.
That's natural, but peer observation shouldn't be evaluative. It's supportive and focused on mutual growth.
How does it work?
Before the observation, we'd discuss what I'm working on improving. Then you'd watch my class with that focus in mind.
And afterward?
We'd have a conversation about what you noticed. The observer shares observations and ideas, not judgments.
That sounds less intimidating than I imagined.
Would you like to try it? I could observe one of your lessons, and you could observe mine.
Yes, I think that would be really helpful. When should we do it? Let's look at our schedules.
Maybe next week?
Perfect. I'm teaching a unit on descriptive writing. I'd love feedback on how I introduce the topic.
Great. I'll come observe with that focus, and you can come watch how I facilitate group discussions in my advanced class.
I'd love to see that. Your students always seem so engaged during discussions.
Thank you. It took years to develop those facilitation skills. I still learn something new from every class.
That's encouraging. Sometimes I feel like I should be better at everything already.
Teaching is a lifelong learning process. The moment you think you've mastered it, something changes.
Do you ever feel burnt out?
Absolutely. Teaching is emotionally and mentally demanding. Self-care is essential.
What do you do to avoid burnout?
Several things. I set boundaries between work and personal time. I have hobbies outside of teaching, and I cultivate supportive relationships with colleagues.
I tend to bring work home every evening and weekend. It's consuming my whole life.
That's not sustainable long term. You need to recharge to be effective in the classroom.
How do you set boundaries? There's always more work to do.
True, but you have to accept that you can't do everything perfectly. Good enough is sometimes good enough.
That's hard for me. I'm a perfectionist.
Many teachers are, but perfectionism can lead to exhaustion and resentment. Find a balance that allows you to be effective while maintaining your well-being.
What specific boundaries do you set?
I don't check work email after 7 p.m. or on weekends unless it's an emergency. I leave school by 4:30 most days, and I take at least one day each weekend completely off from teaching tasks.
Don't you feel guilty about that?
Sometimes, but I remind myself that I'm a better teacher when I'm rested and balanced. Taking care of myself allows me to take care of my students.
Sarah, I've been reading about learning styles. Do you think they're important?
That's an interesting topic. The research on learning styles is actually quite controversial now.
Really? I thought visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learners were established facts.
Many people believe that, but recent research suggests the picture is more complicated.
What do you mean?
While people do have preferences, there's little evidence that matching instruction to someone's supposed learning style improves outcomes.
That's surprising. So, should I not worry about different learning styles?
I wouldn't ignore them completely, but I'd focus more on using varied teaching methods that engage everyone.
So, variety benefits all students, not just specific types?
Exactly. When you use visual aids, hands-on activities, discussions, and readings, you're creating multiple entry points for learning.
That makes sense. Everyone benefits from diversity in teaching approaches.
Right. Also, effective learning often requires the method that best matches the content, not the student's preference.
Can you give an example?
Sure. If you're teaching pronunciation, listening is essential regardless of whether someone prefers visual learning. You can't learn proper pronunciation only by reading.
Good point. So the content determines the appropriate method.
Often, yes, though you can still present the same content through multiple modalities.
What do you mean?
For instance, when teaching vocabulary, you could show images, provide written definitions, use the words in context, or have students act them out, and so on.
So multiple approaches reinforce the learning.
Exactly, and they help students with different backgrounds and abilities access the material.
What about students with learning disabilities? How do you adapt for them?
That's where accommodations and modifications come in. Each student with documented needs should have a plan.
I have 3 students with individualized education plans in one class. It's challenging to meet everyone's needs simultaneously.
It is challenging. Do you have support from special education teachers?
Sometimes, but not consistently. I mostly figure it out on my own.
That's tough. Ideally, you'd have regular consultation with specialists who understand each student's specific needs.
What accommodations do you typically provide?
It depends on the student, but common ones include extended time on tests, quiet testing locations, or assignment modifications.
One of my students needs all reading materials in a larger font and simpler language.
Those are reasonable accommodations. Does the school provide modified materials, or do you create them yourself?
I create them myself, which takes additional time.
That is time-consuming. Have you checked whether modified versions exist already? Sometimes publishers provide them.
I didn't know that. I'll investigate.
Also, technology can help. Text-to-speech software, for example, supports students with reading difficulties.
I've heard of that, but never used it. How does it work?
The software reads digital text aloud. Students can listen to readings, articles, or instructions instead of reading them.
That could help several of my students. Where do I find this software?
Many free options exist online. Some are browser extensions, others are standalone programs. I can show you after our conversation.
Thank you. I want to support all my students, but I often don't know what resources are available.
Don't hesitate to ask for help. Colleagues, administrators, and specialists can all provide guidance and resources.
How do you motivate students who simply don't care about learning?
That's one of the eternal questions in education. There's no single answer, unfortunately.
I have several students who put in 0 effort. They don't do homework, they don't participate, and they barely stay awake in class.
Have you tried to understand why they're disengaged?
Not really. I assume they're just lazy or don't value education.
Those assumptions might be accurate in some cases, but usually there are deeper issues.
Like what?
Maybe they're overwhelmed by problems outside school. Maybe they've experienced repeated failure and have given up. Maybe they don't see how education connects to their lives and goals.
Those are all possibilities I hadn't considered carefully.
Try having individual conversations with disengaged students. Don't lecture or scold them. Just express interest in understanding their perspective.
What kinds of questions should I ask?
Start open-ended. How's class going for you? Or what's making school difficult right now? Then listen genuinely to their answers.
What if they won't talk to me?
Some students won't open up immediately. Building trust takes time. Keep trying gently and show through your actions that you care about them as people, not just as students.
How do you show you care?
Small gestures matter. Greet them by name every day. Notice when they're absent and welcome them back. Comment on their interests or achievements, even non-academic ones.
I should do more of that. I get so focused on content that I forget the human element.
The relationship is the foundation. Students won't care what you know until they know that you care.
That's a good saying. Is it yours?
No, it's an old teaching proverb, but it's absolutely true in my experience.
What about making the contents more relevant? You mentioned students not seeing connections to their lives.
Yes, try to understand what matters to your students and connect lessons to those interests.
How do I find out what they care about?
Ask them. Surveys, informal conversations, and classroom discussions can reveal their interests.
And then I incorporate those interests into lessons?
When possible, yes. If students love music, use song lyrics for language analysis. If they follow sports, use statistics from games for math problems.
That requires a lot of creativity and preparation.
It does, but you don't need to do it for every lesson. Even occasional connections show students that you're trying to make learning relevant.
What about students who don't seem too interested in anything?
Everyone cares about something. You might need to dig deeper to discover it. Family, friends, future career aspirations, hobbies, social issues, there's always something.
And if a student's main interest has nothing to do with my subject?
Get creative. Almost anything can connect to language learning. If a student loves video games, they could write a game review, analyze game dialogue, or research the gaming industry.
I like that approach. It respects their interests while still teaching the required skills.
Exactly. And it shows students that learning happens everywhere, not just in textbooks.
Do you use rewards or incentives to motivate students?
Sometimes, but I'm cautious about extrinsic motivation.
What's wrong with rewards?
Nothing inherently, but research shows that external rewards can actually decrease internal motivation over time.
Really? How does that work?
If students learn only for rewards, grades, prizes, praise, they may lose interest in learning for its own sake.
But don't grades matter for college and careers?
Yes, grades have real consequences. I'm not saying to eliminate them, but we should also foster genuine curiosity and love of learning.
How do you do that?
By making lessons interesting, relevant, and appropriately challenging. By celebrating progress and effort, not just perfect performance. By giving students choices and autonomy when possible.
Choice is important.
Very. When students have some control over their learning, choosing topics, formats, partners, they're more invested.
I worry that giving choices leads to chaos. What if everyone wants to do something different?
You can offer structured choices. Choose option A, B, or C rather than completely open-ended freedom.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. For a writing assignment, let students choose whether to write a story, an essay, or a dialogue. All options practice the same skills, but students feel ownership.
That's manageable. I thought you meant letting students do whatever they want.
No, that would be overwhelming for everyone. The key is providing meaningful choices within a clear structure.
Sarah, how do you manage everything? The workload feels impossible sometimes. Teaching is definitely demanding. What specifically overwhelms you? Everything. Planning lessons, grading, meetings, parent communication, administrative tasks, professional development. The list never ends. It really doesn't. You have to prioritize and accept that you can't do everything perfectly. How do you prioritize? I ask myself, what will have the biggest impact on student learning? That comes first. Administrative tasks come second. Everything else is third. But administration requires specific tasks by specific deadlines. True, you have to meet those requirements, but I do the minimum necessary for administrative work so I can focus on teaching.
Is that allowed?
As long as you meet the requirements, yes. I don't volunteer for extra committees or initiatives unless they genuinely interest me or benefit my students. I feel pressure to say yes to everything. Learning to say no is crucial for teacher sustainability. You cannot and should not do everything. I worry that saying no makes me look like a bad team player. Setting healthy boundaries makes you a better teacher because you're not exhausted and resentful. Quality over quantity. That's a good perspective. What about the emotional stress of teaching? That's significant too. Teaching requires constant emotional labor. Being on for students, managing your reactions, showing patience even when you're frustrated. Yes, sometimes I want to scream, but I have to stay calm and professional. That emotional control is exhausting. You need outlets to process those feelings. What do you do? I talk with trusted colleagues who understand. I also have a friend outside education who listens when I need to vent. I don't want to burden my non-teacher friends. They don't really get it. Fair point. That's why teacher friendships are so valuable. We understand each other's challenges.
Do you ever see a therapist or counselor?
Actually, yes. I started seeing someone a few years ago when I was feeling burned out. It was incredibly helpful.
Really? I thought about it, but felt like I should be able to handle things on my own.
Teaching is one of the most stressful professions. There's no shame in seeking support. Would you judge a doctor for seeing a doctor?
No, that's a good point.
Mental health is health. Taking care of yourself makes you a better teacher.
I'll think about it. What else helps you manage stress?
Exercise is huge for me. I run 3 times a week. It clears my mind and releases tension.
I used to exercise regularly, but stopped when teaching got busy.
I understand, but exercise actually gives you more energy. It seems counterintuitive when you're exhausted, but it's true.
Maybe I'll try to restart my gym routine.
Start small. Even a 20-minute walk helps. Don't make it another source of stress by setting unrealistic goals.
Good advice. What about during the school day? Any stress management techniques for when I'm at work?
Deep breathing helps in the moment. When I feel overwhelmed, I take 5 slow, deep breaths. It activates the relaxation response.
I have heard about that, but never tried it seriously.
Also, I take a real lunch break as often as possible. Even 15 minutes away from students helps me reset.
I usually work through lunch.
I did too for years, but it's not sustainable. You need breaks to maintain energy and patience through the afternoon.
You're right. I'm often irritable with my afternoon classes because I'm exhausted.
Exactly. Taking a break isn't selfish. It benefits your students because you're more present and positive.
Sarah, can I ask you something personal?
Of course.
Why do you continue teaching after 15 years? With all the stress and challenges we've discussed, why stay?
That's a profound question. I ask myself that sometimes, especially during difficult weeks.
And what's your answer?
Teaching's incredibly meaningful work. We shape lives and futures. Not many professions offer that kind of impact.
That's true, but some days the impact feels invisible.